Hello, I'm Robert Durant. This is Games Are Hard, and after countless games of Dominion that I've played with mostly Lucas and Tori, I've come across what I think to be a major design flaw with the game, and I want to talk about that today in this video. Now, first of all, I want to point out that Dominion is my third favorite analog game. So by no means am I trying to say that this game is awful. In fact, I would highly recommend this game to basically anyone who's finds any enjoyment in analog games. And this one flaw, it doesn't break the game for me. It's just I feel like it's something that could have been avoided, and it would have made the game even better. Before I start my arguments, I just want to say that I consider myself to be a fairly experienced Dominion player. I've played at least 50 to 100 games. I don't know. I've played many games of Dominion, although I have primarily only played with the base set, Intrigue, Alchemy, Prosperity, and Dark Ages. I haven't played a lot from any of the other sets, so I may not be covering the complete Dominion scene when I'm talking in this video. So my issue with the game deals with how powerful treasures are in the game. So usually once players get a bit of experience after playing maybe 6 to 10 games, players usually start to realize how powerful it is to only buy treasures and ignore actions for the most part. And there's some people that go as far as saying that the best strategy in Dominion is to completely ignore the actions, or if you're going to buy an action, buy 1 or 2 at most, and for the entire game, just keep buying silvers until you can buy golds, and keep buying golds until you can buy provinces, and then just end the game with a bunch of provinces. Now, I want to first rebuttal this argument because I know for sure I have lots of experience with this game. And countless times I have seen a engine that uses many actions, or at least more than 2 actions, function much better than just a pure money deck. I say in most games, the idea that you can just buy money to create more money and then buy provinces will not be the best strategy, although it is a decent strategy, and it's a pretty risk-free strategy as well. Since when you start playing an engine, usually since the cards are random every time, you can't be guaranteed that your engine will work. That said, if there's no attacks in the game, strategy of just using money can actually be quite quick, especially if there's not any particularly strong actions in play or even special treasures. And you really can, and I've seen it done before, especially in 4-player games, where there's far less victory cards in the supply to be bought, where just buying money outright and then buying provinces will just win you the game very quickly before the players with an engine can start their thing up. But I do want to iterate that I do not believe that this is the sole best strategy of Dominion. I definitely believe that the best strategy is to have a mix of both treasures and actions, but always this depends on the kingdom you're playing with. So my main issue with the game is just the fact that these basic silver and gold cards are so powerful and so key to the game. And they really aren't all that interesting. It's when you have a lot of action cards in your hand on every one of your turns, you're making an interesting decision of which one do I play first, what order do I play, how do I play them. When you have silver and golds in your hand, you just play them down and select a card, costing so the coins that you have. And as a game, it's the purpose of the game is to give you many interesting choices. And the way that the game creates the most interesting choices is through action cards. Yet the game incentivizes you against buying a lot of action cards and giving you a lot of interesting choices, because the game so heavily rewards players for buying many treasures and just having a few action cards to supplement. There are so many games of Dominion where I see a really cool combo between some of the action cards in the kingdom, But I when it comes to my turn and I buy something, 4 coins. I look at the action cards that I can buy, and I look at silver. I'm like, well, silver is just a better card, and so I buy the less interesting card, even though it would be more fun to play some of these interesting actions. I remember in particular an interesting combo I saw in one game was using transmutes to get duchies, and then buying a bunch of dukes to make and since I had a lot of duchies, being the dukes would be worth much more points. And the game didn't have any attacks though, so the one player that was playing just a straight treasure deck just won the game quicker than I could get the duchies for my strategy to work out. So it was unfortunate because that was a really cool strategy and it would have been fun to play out. Whereas the game ended before I had the chance to, and the player that won was by far playing the most boring deck of everyone. And when the game incentivizes this basically boring play, when there's a possibility of a much more engaging and interesting play, I feel like that's just a design flaw of the game. The game can make any card more powerful or less powerful, and I don't think that all the cards need to be balanced. I think one of the things that's great about Dominion is that every game is different based on the action cards you have in play. Although I feel it could be even more different if the cards that were always in play were less powerful than the cards that weren't always in play. Because there are many games that just turn into buy a lot of money, maybe get an action that gives you more cards, but otherwise just buy a bunch of money. And all those games play out the same way. If the money was, for example, if silver was more expensive and gold was more expensive, I don't know if that would change the game in any way. I know it would slow the game down, which is not something that's particularly desirable. But currently, although I definitely have to say there are some games where an engine strat definitely is by far the best way to go. Usually this is when there is a decent attack in the kingdom. There are plenty of games where they play it all the same. It doesn't matter what the actions are down. Just everyone buys the silvers and the gold since they are just so powerful. And I believe one of the reasons why they're so powerful is that your deck already starts out as basically a straight treasure deck. You have 7 coppers and then 2 estates. These coppers and estates really do slow down an engine, which I personally think is the most engaging thing to play. So you have to find something to be able to get rid of those cards with first, and then start building your engine, or for the engine to work. Whereas if you're going to just make a straight money deck, you don't really have to get rid of anything. You just start building up. Although it would be beneficial to get rid of something, it's not a necessity to play that deck. And so it really makes a lot of Dominion games play out the exact same way, where you're just buying silvers and golds, and you need a very specific set of cards for a more interesting engine deck to prevail and encourage people to play that sort of way. So I think that sums up my issue with Dominion. For the most part, I just feel that the treasures, or the base treasures in the game that appear in every game, are structured in a way that they're powerful enough that they incentivize a fairly uninteresting strategy to be played out during most games of Dominion. I just want to reiterate that I by no means think that Dominion is an awful game or anything. It's still one of my favorite games to play, and I highly recommend anyone who hasn't played it to try it. But I just wanted to share this one issue I had with the game that I think the designer could have avoided if they saw the issue. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. That's all. So I'm Robert Durant. This was Games Are Hard.